a few words on the power of the philosophy of shape. When an organization or a society falls victim to the philosophy of shape, it is in dire straits. Processes come to a standstill because nobody has any confidence in the processes. Nobody has faith in their integrity. You will find files going missing, letters disappearing, minutes not being made. These have become standard operating procedures. Nobody can be held accountable. Everything will be shaped. How are we going to reverse this philosophy of shape? How can the rule of law be reinstituted without investigating the corruption that has been going on and tracking down, prosecuting and punishing all those who are involved in this corruption? Can it be done? How can you reinstitute the rule of law without removing the atmosphere of impunity that prevails? How is that going to be done? And while that is being done, if that is going to be done, it is necessary then to review the entire legislative framework of the state from the constitution downwards and amend that legislative framework, sometimes discard it and build it anew. And if we are going to be serious about this and sincere about this, then we had better let it show. Personally, I think that we have a constitution that is quite disgraceful in that it allows the executive, the president, the freedom to commit any crime that he likes and not face prosecution. The president can shoot you, he can rape you, he can murder you, he can hang his wife, kill his daughter and son. He can do anything he likes. And he will not be prosecuted. That is a disgrace. And to hold on to this clause in our constitution and talk about being a civilized nation does not make sense. At least it does not make sense to me. And as I said before, I am a minority of one. So the reconfiguration, the reformulation, the amendment, the restructuring of the entire legal framework is going to be essential if we are going to prevent something like this ever happening again. we have to have a credible economy. And at the core of this restructuring has got to be the restructuring of the financial system. And at the core of the restructuring of the financial system has got to be the regionalization of our stock market, our stock exchange. The future of this island depends on that. If we do not have the ability, or if we do not have the courage to take on this task, we are not going to go very far. Whether we achieve this task successfully or not will determine whether we are able to live with dignity. And it will also determine the extent to which we are able to preserve our sovereignty. So it is not a task that I would walk away from lightly. And I would suggest that you and everybody else join together and try to successfully accomplish this task. We will have to open our market to global competition if we are going to be serious, which means we are going to have to adopt process-driven management. We are going to have to abandon personality-driven management. We are going to have to forget about our old boys clubs. We're going to have to stop shaping for each other and face the market. It will bring about a remarkable change in our personalities and in our attitudes. And it will make us better people. But it is hard work. And we have to decide whether we are going to take on that hard work or not. The consequences will be ours. Just as the corporate sector will have to accept process-driven management, so will the government. Accountability, performance indicators, time frames, rewards, punishments, methods, training, they will have to come into play. All this will bring in money to the country, but it will not put money into the pockets of the men and women on the streets. That demands a further intervention. And what is that intervention? Regional stock market is not going to help. Global competition is also not going to help. One thing that can be done is the development of the tourist industry, which requires human resource development. Because while our hotels are very beautiful, remarkable pieces of architecture, our human resources leave much to be desired. Sometimes they are terrible. So, tourism is possible, but human resources have got to be developed and upgraded. But that is not all. We have a beautiful environment. We have geographical features which are not normally found in such close proximity. We have different types of climates close to each other. All this can be exploited, and all this provides jobs if it is done properly and in a systematic way. We are talking about not only tourism, we are talking also about the reconstruction and rehabilitation and development and management of our environment. We are used to thinking that these things should just happen, but they don't just happen. We are going to have to employ people and pay them to do the job. And we're going to have to train them how to do the job. And we're going to have to supervise and see that they do the job. So there will be work. But that is not all. We all know that in September this year, the United Nations is going to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals. Why? Because development has become a problem and it is not sustainable, according to our scientists. And if development is not made sustainable, then what happens? Well, if development is not made sustainable, then you will find the global economy winding down. And you will find the global civilization beginning to collapse. Now, I hope that does not happen. But with a rising human population, an increasing consumption of resources, an increasing pollution, preventing that from happening is going to be a very difficult job. Personally, I don't feel inclined to engage in preventing that from happening, especially when all my efforts at preventing that from happening have as their objective just the continuation of business as usual. No change. So that doesn't make sense to me. But what I think is important is that systems are put in place. Resilient systems of, actually they have to be resilient, they have to be sustainable, there have to be social support systems, and there have to be species survival systems, and their supply chains. Systems without supply chains are of very little use to anybody. These systems have to be put in place on the island. Now, it is not as though, say, power generation systems. It's not as though we don't have power. We have power. We have power generation systems, but they have to be made sustainable and they have to be made resilient, and we have to make sure that as many people as possible can access those power generation systems, because it is only those who can access those power generation systems who will be able to perform certain functions, and those functions will be vital for their survival and the survival of civilization as we know it. So there is work to be done. There are employment opportunities. There's nothing to worry about, and the question of where the money is going to come from also need not bother you at the moment. I will not comment on that right now, but some hard choices will have to be made, not really by us as a nation, but it's a global problem and it will find a global solution, but we have to be ready to do the work. So I think I have given you a fairly comprehensive overview of our situation, and I think I have also answered many of the questions that have been raised. But there's one thing that I would like to mention before I close, and that is this question of extremism. People are worried about extremism, and there is very good reason to worry about extremism, because if you look at the situation globally, extremists have been pitted against moderates. Extremists have attacked moderates, and extremism has become a problem. Why? As far as I can see, extremism has become a problem because the moderates are not talking to each other. They are not interacting with each other. They are not collaborating with each other. They are not networking with each other. That is why extremism takes the upper hand. But extremism is a serious problem. And moderates have to link up, have to collaborate, have to cooperate with each other in responding to extremism. And when I say moderates, you can be a Marxist moderate, you can be a Christian moderate, you can be a Tamil moderate, you can be an Islamic moderate, you can be a Sinhalese moderate, you can be a Hindu moderate. It doesn't matter what you are as long as you're moderate. That is the key factor. Moderation can be defined. So these moderates have got to link up and work together in order to respond to extremism and actually manage it. It can be done. I know that many people find it difficult to understand how it can be done, and they look at it as an overwhelming task, and it scares them. There is no need to be afraid, but there is a need to get down to work. Sitting around and waiting for somebody else to do it will get us into big trouble. When we are busy redoing this legislative framework, we are going to have to introduce a few new acts. And of course, as I said, we are going to have to redo a lot of old ones. There again, if you're going to wait for the legal draftsman's department to do this, it will happen 10 years down the line. It will be too late. By that time, we'll have serious problems on our hands. So all those who have any kind of legal training, who can sit down and draft those acts, had better sit down and start drafting them, and those acts can be then sent to the relevant ministries, and hopefully the minister can actually be requested to do it, and if they do it, well and good. If they don't, we will remove them at the next election. It's not a problem. And we will make sure that we put somebody in there who's more responsive to what the people want. And if they think that what the people want is not a good thing, then they better tell the people why. What's bad about it and why it should not be done then. And finally, something that cannot be avoided. That is the reactivation of the village system. We all live in villages. If you look around carefully, we are fortunate to live in villages. Even if you are in the middle of a city, you are in a village. Now those villages have their own demarcations, and each village must have certain facilities, like the village doctor, the village teacher, the village whatever. That's going to be a very important mechanism in the future, because we have a growing population to manage, and we cannot manage it in a very impersonal way. There have to be people who know each other, and it is the village officials who play a functional role, not like the Grama Niladhari. He's a nice guy, but he's some kind of bureaucrat. The village doctor and the village nurse are not some kind of bureaucrats. They are people who are intimately involved with the lives of the village people. That's the kind of people whom we need. We are going to need a few more people like that, maybe the village councillor. I'm not talking about something like the municipal council. I'm talking about someone who's more like a psychosocial council. who follows the development of every village, every person in the village, and intervenes where necessary to help that person make career decisions, educational choices, whatever it may be. So this village is something that is our strength. There are certain countries in the world where there are no villages. And if you go back into their history, you will find that they don't have villages because they wiped out entire populations and went and settled there. So they don't have villages. We are not like that. We have villages. And when you get down to reactivating and energizing and developing these villages, you will realize what a vibrant, energetic institution. It's not really an institution. It's almost an organism. A village is a living thing. And you will understand how much of strength, how much of power, how much of creativity, how much of dynamism that is going to bring to your developmental process. I can't think of anything more that I have to say at the moment. I may think of something more to say tomorrow or the day after. If I do, I will talk to you about it. And in the meantime, as I said, start sharing your ideas. Start talking to each other. Start discussing. This is necessary now in Sri Lanka, and it is going to become necessary very soon throughout the world. So begin, start talking. As I have said before, if there are questions you want to raise, go ahead and raise them, and I will do my best to respond.